Hey Eduardo, so let's get right into these essays and see what you wrote today. Some people think that university and colleges. Okay, it's the one about world history or local history. Let's see what you said. Experts throughout the developing and developed world have debated if with no AL, academic centers should focus on the national or world history. I firmly believe that both are important, but the potential to bring solutions to current problems is unequal. All right, I don't know what you really mean by this, but let's see. This essay argues that studying national history can lead to formulating better solutions to issues that affect daily lives. Okay. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that proves the benefits of studying national and local history. For example, it helps students to engage with local traditions and develop more accurate ideas focused on solving the problems that affect daily lives. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, current negative issues are consequences of decisions made by local leaders in the past. Okay, because of that, you're missing an and here, some sort of conjunction. And because of that, it is crucial to go one step back and track the action that caused a specific problem. Secondly, while looking for these answers, scholars can value their local traditions, which generally are accompanied by central principles such as solidarity, respect, and honesty. Okay. Recent empirical research by the National University of Mexico revealed how sociology and anthropology are great fields to rescue local knowledge with high potential to explain the nature of particular social and economic trends. Okay, are great fields to rescue local knowledge. I'm not really crazy about this word here, rescue, maybe to preserve. Maybe that's what you mean here instead of rescue. But other than that, it's very nice. Okay, so on the other hand, it cannot be overstated that the positive impact of understanding global patterns by the study of world history. You don't need the ing. Also, there's something else syntactically wrong with this. You can't say this like this. You have to say the positive impact of understanding global patterns by the study of world history cannot be overstated. All right, you can't use this structure here with this preparatory it, okay? So you have to rephrase this. Or you could have said it cannot be overstated that there is a positive impact, etc., etc. You could have done that. Okay, this is largely because most countries, without the of, are interconnected by long processes such as trade, migration, and even tourism. For example, according to an extensive report by the World Trade Organization, the flows of merchandise, no S, have increased 400%, no N, in the last 20 years. Consistent with this line of thinking, some people have become more aware of the events that occur in other parts of the globe. However, this kind of knowledge is more oriented to professionals in the fields of international relations, economy, and political science. Okay, fine. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that universities and colleges should be more dedicated to teaching ing after this kind of a to, because it doesn't mean full infinitive, it means that it's a preposition. National local history, particularly because it has a higher potential to bring answers to specific problems. In fact, it is predicted that in the future, the rescue of national traditions, again, I don't agree with this word rescue, will help to recover identities in order to generate more coherent social groups. All right, that last part is very lovely. However, the order of your paragraphs is wrong. Since you think that local and national history are more important, this has to come second. So you need to reverse these two paragraphs. It might seem like a minor detail, but I assure you that it's not, okay? It's part of structuring your essay appropriately, okay? So that's something you need to do. And then, of course, some of the grammar things that I mentioned earlier. Alrighty, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Hold on, there we go. All right, so let's move on to your task 1. Lovely, it's the chip, Intel, and AMD. Okay, so the bar chart illustrates the not amount. It's because it's not something uncountable. It's something tangible. So it's the number of chips in thousands produced and sold in France during the year 2017. The data is grouped and compared by the manufacturer's name, which are Intel and AMD. All right, that's a little too wordy. You didn't have to say all of that. You could have just added it on sold in France. Okay, you should have said the bar chart illustrates the number of chips in thousands produced and sold by AMD and Intel in France during the year 2017. And then you could have skipped that entire last sentence, okay, because it already looks long enough, really. All right, so Intel sold during the first semester. I don't know what you mean by first semester. Are you talking about the first quarter? So please specify what that means. Intel sold during the first let's just say you mean quarter, many more chips. It's countable. So many more chips than AMD, particularly in June when no production of the latter was registered. Contrary to Intel, which manufactured approximately 150,000 chips without the of here. Okay, let me take a look at your data now. So you're saying that Intel outsold AMD, and yeah, that's true, except for February. So let's see. Did you mention that? You did not mention that. Although Intel also showed a growing trend during the first 3 months, it fell drastically to 25,000 in April. However, it recovered again at the end of May. Okay, so fine. In the second semester, specifically in July, the production of AMD could surpass. I don't know why you're saying could surpass. It did surpass, you mean. So the production of AMD surpassed the limit. I wouldn't say that it's a limit. I would just say the figure of 100,000 chips produced. But in August, the number decreased again. Nevertheless, it rose. Not it could. You're not implying possibility in the future. You're saying that it rose the following month when it arrived close to 100,000. Finally, in the last 3 months of the year, Intel recovered its sales, which had been stagnant. Okay, you could use the adjective here during August, September, and October. Overall, it can be seen that sales for both manufacturers are erratic. There are months where they rise and fall. But in general, Intel has a more preponderant presence in the market. Okay, there's something that bothers me here. I feel like you have too many ideas in one sentence. Like, for example, you could have done here this. It can be seen that the sales for both manufacturers are erratic, with months of rises and falls. But in general, etc., etc. That works a little better because I really am tempted to put some sort of a cohesive device here, but you can't because it's just too many. Now, the one thing that I'm not really entirely happy with here is it's like you've selected very little data. You're like, all right, I'm going to talk about this for Intel, and then I'm going to talk about this period for AMD. But I feel like you're missing the overall picture. Like I feel like you're focusing a lot on just like specific details, but not really the whole. I felt like you were missing the bigger picture and you focused too much on details, and so that would probably affect your task response score. Okay, now I'm not going to tell you there's just one way to do this. Obviously there are many ways to do this. You could have tried grouping your information. I mean, let me give you an example. Like you could have talked about all the months, for example, when AMD's sales were under 50,000. So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. So 7 out of the 12 months, AMD's sales were under 50,000. And likewise, you could say how that compares to Intel, for example. And you could also talk about how many months that Intel sold between 50 and 100, which is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again. So do you see how somehow grouping this information kind of changes things? And then obviously you could talk about like some of those lows, some of those highs. So I'm trying to tell you that it's also important to get like the bigger picture. Anyway, it's a nice attempt overall. Just think about some of my suggestions. It's just trying to help you have another way to kind of conceptualize how to answer some of these tasks, especially when there is such like bizarre data that goes up and down. So keep on writing, correct these essays, send them back to us corrected, and don't forget your error correction list. I'll be waiting to see your next essay, so lots of luck with your writing.